we use tooling such as Azure Data Factory, which we've got laid out here, which is part of the Microsoft and Azure Data Platform tooling that we're going to talk about. The Data Factory component is, think of, it's sometimes aligned to SSIS packages that we used to have with SQL, but it's kind of that plus a lot more because of what it's able to deliver you. Being able to create pipelines that the groups of activities that are able to manipulate data, either move it, transform it, or control access to this different data sets. The pipelines are really important parts of establishing a journey of data from, it could be my website data, my Salesforce data, my CRM data, trying to pull all this data together. The pipelines that we've got established can be quite simplistic at the beginning, but they will grow very, to be very complex beasts at the end of it. And you can get very complicated very quickly with these pipelines, bringing in different data sets, bringing in other linked services that we've got, and then getting quite, cute about how we deal with the runtimes and integration runtimes. So how we trigger events. So a customer clicked on a contact us button on my website. Does that trigger an event? What does that mean to us? Or till data gets uploaded every night to a central repository somewhere. Is that my trigger that then pulls other data in that we can start doing things together? So it's a very intricate activity. We need to make sure it's timed right. And the activity runs that go together, putting all these these pipelines, all these activities, all these data sets together, can mean that we can get some good alignment of data together at the right time on demand. So it's not just being pulled whenever it's uploaded. There's some coordination around how we collect and collect these different data sets as well. You see from some of the samples we've got at the bottom, we've got trigger data from an S3 bucket on Amazon. We'll input data. There's copy activities, which will then move that into some blob storage for us to then ingest into Databricks. So this is quite a simplistic model, but it's showing you how we can connect different data models and different data sources using pipelines to third parties. The one in the middle there takes a CSV file and places that into an SQL server. So it could be a data warehouse or some sort of data repository on the right hand side. But it shows you how it takes that CSV file, which could just be a till upload, or it could just be users on a website, whatever that CSV containing. But I can't use it in a CSV format. I want to use it in a usable format in a structured database where I've got value pairs that I can then do some analysis on at a later point. Well, what I need to do is I need to connect that via my data factory and get that into my data warehouse potentially, so we can then start making good decisions on the back of that data as well. And the beautiful thing about data factory, my guys love it because it's kind of this low code. You don't have to sit on the GUI, you don't have to sit on the CLI. It's kind of a compromise of both, so you can see what's going on, use the visualization, but you can break out into some of the coding principles and actually get some manipulation of the pipelines themselves. So it's a really powerful tool that allows for that low code orchestration as well. So bringing data together, we've got some decisions we need to make about the endpoint of where it sits as well. So I've just talked about data warehousing. Is it data warehousing you're after? Is it data lake? We need to understand the structure of your data. Within data warehousing, it's more traditional structured data. When you're looking at SQL services, such as your SQL, or building SQL on VMs, or taking SQL from on-premise environments or third-party environments, bringing that through. There's also Synapse Analytics that used to be Azure Data Warehouse. They've rebranded a lot of the naming here, so it's Synapse services that are built for data warehousing components as well, and also bringing in some of the HD Insight components to do some of the analytics on that data as well, as opposed to the data lake that is kind of a lot more unstructured, looking at data lake storage, so blob storage that is just scalable repository of data, but also start looking at the distribution. So if you're dealing with large scale sets, distributed scale sets, you've got a requirement for the high performance on top of it, and you want to provision some of the analytics tools such as Hadoop, Spark, or R to do some of the understanding of what's happening within there. Then the data lake looks like could be quite useful for you. So what we're seeing as well is it's not a simple decision to say, okay, well, we need to build a data warehouse. Well, actually, we need parts of both. Some of my data will be structured, some of it will be unstructured, some of it will need scalability, some of it, needs to be closely coupled, and that's the whole point of, the data platform bringing together, the best of both worlds. And Azure Synapse ultimately does a lot of that, and it can be flexible. That flexible data platform that will grow with your capacity as well. So some of the selection criteria we'll go through when understanding, where your data should reside is, like the slide suggests there, is looking at that management overhead, the data set sizes that you're dealing with, the type and complexity of the queries that you're running over this data, and the amount of queries as well. If you want real-time analytical queries, then some tools are better at that than others. Looking at structure versus unstructured of data, historic data. Do we need live operational data? If data is more than half an hour old, then it's out of date. Am I doing real-time business reporting, or is it more, I can do batch processing, I can do a week's worth of data at one point, or a day's worth of data. How important and how accurate does this data need to be for a decision to be made? Dealing with that life cycle, the aging of data, demoting it, tiers, and escalating and normalizing data as well is part of that data processing as well. And then some of the reporting options will dictate to how we design and articulate your data platform going forward. So Azure Synapse is probably the answer for most of our problems, especially within data platform. It's a lot of what we've been doing within Cloud Direct is based around Synapse and Synapse Analytics. It's about putting together the integration components, the data warehousing aspects, and the analytics into a single product set where we can make some options on there. So whether or not that's the data engineering bit, if we want to run Spark, or we need some GPU acceleration, or I want to be able to set some automation to scale on demand, or pause some analytic components, or I want to cache certain amounts of data. There's certain techniques in there that will allow you to do that data engineering in a more effective way. Also things like the ETL lifecycle, how you're doing some of these components makes things a lot more easy and streamlined if you're doing it in the same environment as well. And a lot of the built-in connectors make things really easy to connect. So connecting it to an SQL data source, it should be very easy. And guess what it is? It's very, very easy to connect that. Getting SharePoint data, getting email data from M365. As you'd expect, Microsoft tooling is very easy to connect. And then some of the well-known things like Salesforce and other third-party databases is very easy to get a lot of the common tooling data into the platform as well. We talk about the warehousing components, Synapse SQL, SQL pools, some of the engine analysis that we're doing, and the data lake. If you want to run query explorers on live data, and then looking at the different maybe Parquet data formats, CSVs or JSON, whatever it is we're bringing through, we're able to start running queries over the top of this data straight away. And then looking at the converged analytics as well, and some of the other bits that kind of lend itself to doing things in a different way that you've not been able to do before. So things like triggers from event hubs, and integration with the Microsoft Dataverse, and also looking at that AI infused data pipelines, which is a kind of a big buzz. AI infused data pipeline sounds awesome, but ultimately it's about expanding that capability with artificial intelligence is backed with Microsoft, and making the data pipelines connect better and quicker and more effectively, and giving you a quicker, better source of data into your repositories as well. So there's some key service capabilities. I'm going to read them all, but the big ones there are the serverless options. So you're not having to manage the platform. This is PaaS we're talking about. We're not talking about building SQL servers and managing operating systems and patching things and having scale sets and turning things on and off. Patch Tuesday happens, guess what happens? The whole world breaks. This is serverless. This is dealing with instances. This is dealing with always on services that we pay for consumption as we use it as well. And it's at enterprise scale as well. So this isn't just built for a small company. You could start small, but some of your data could get quite big. And it's having that enterprise scale and enterprise critical service there in the background that gives you that confidence as well. The integration with Spark and SQL engines, so you don't necessarily want your engineers to have to relearn another language or another analytic language. So I've been using Transactflow for years. Why should I use something different? I can do what I need to do. Well, it talks the same language. The same for Apache, and the services there in Spark. So you don't have to relearn a new tool set. It's a common tool set that's used and widely available as well. And then so the integration with AI and the BI components there as well. So it's the visualization bit we've not talked about there. So that's the bit that Alex and the guys will talk about. Unlocking this data to do certain bits as well.